How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is RuffledRowlit, and welcome back to a brand new video, guys. Today, we're going to be doing a Pokemon Sword and Shield graphics comparison between the different trailers, right? We're going to be comparing the graphics between Pokemon Sword and Shield's, first initial few trailers, and also the newest one that came out yesterday. Also, I just took a shower, so I'm a little bit squishy. But yeah, we basically going to be taking a look at them. We're going to be comparing some stuff here. There's a bunch of images that have been posted by, I think, Pokemon Next is the Twitter account. So I'm posting a bunch of those. So you guys have been constantly sending me stuff like, check this out, check this out, check this out, check this out, check this out. And I'm like, okay, I'll get to it, right? I'll get to it. I'll break it down. I'll break down all the kind of improvements and non-improvements and all that stuff that have been kind of made. And I don't know, we're gonna kind of go through it and see what the deal is, because there is some stuff that kind of is worth saying and kind of pointing out. So yeah, let's get right into it, shall we, ladies and gentlemen. So we're starting with this one right here. Now, people sending me this one on my Discord saying, like, look, they improved it, you know, and whatnot. And here's the thing that you first need to notice. These two, ones right here, there's a big difference between these two images because they're not recorded at the same time frame during the day in the game. If you actually look at the background, it's exactly the same stuff. Like, there's no changes there. The only difference is this is recorded at a different time, like a different time of day in the game, right? It's a different weather that's going on when you see this image. So it's simply just a different weather. These are exactly the same images. It's just that here, you don't see this, you know, the stuff that's kind of a little bit inconsistent that you would see down, you know, you don't see it here because it's just slightly dimmer, whereas this one is in the same position. And that's what you will notice with a lot of these, what we will notice here as we go through some of these images, is that there's a lot of that stuff here that's going on. Now, some people also pointed out there's a shadow on this one. Well, I went down to the previous trailer and I checked up. There are shadows in the Pokeballs in the previous trailers as well. This one's from the 5th of June. There's still the shadow right here. There's still shadows. There's nothing weird here. Though the ground texture here looks really, really shitty, as you may notice. This one actually has been changed, which is an improvement. But then there is stuff like, we're going to get to the point where I get a little bit frustrated at the end, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But, yeah, so when we look at this one, sure, like, it may seem like it's really an improvement, but in reality, all that's happened here is that you got a higher resolution kind of, like, you know, recording, and also on top of that, it's recorded at a different time frame in the game. Though I will say the tree in the background looks slightly like the stuff on it. Like, I don't know, it looks slightly better when it's dimmer, when rather than when it's, like, you know, more light outside. So this is like, literally, these are the exact same shit. Nothing's been changed here. The only thing that's been changed here is, in my opinion, all I can see is just that one is in a different time of day in the game, right? It's different weather going on. That's all I can see here, you know, because there's a day and night cycle in the game. So considering there's a day and night cycle, shit's gonna look different in different, you know, times of day. So it's really just the same thing. Nothing else has been really changed. The ground texture is the same. You can see kind of the deep dark down here. It's the same deep dark right here. Even the little pop up right there is right there as well. It's just this one's like further down because this one's landed, whereas this one's mid-air. This is like, I think this image is like taken right when the Pokeball is, like, you know, closed up, and right as it's about to start doing its falling down animation. Like, this is right in that position, which is why we don't see any shadow on it, whereas if you look at the actual older trailers, there are shadows underneath them. But that's one of the first things, of course. Now, the next thing here is a small little improvement that was noticed. So the upper image here, as you will notice, is of Leon, and it's a newer image, and you'll see, like, on the top here, they made it more spiky, whereas the bottom one, it's kind of like more, it's more like a Lego brick almost. It's kind of more bricky or whatever, bricky. But this one's more spiky, which is good. Down here you can see this one's like, I don't know, I kind of feel like if it just wasn't like as sharp as it is, but no, it's an improvement. It's improvement on these small edges here. So there's definitely an improvement on the edges, which is nice to see. You know, there's clearly some improvement there. Then we have this, which, again, this all depends on which time you approach it, but there is a better kind of like, I guess the only difference here is, like, when you really look at it, is that this image up here is just lower resolution, and that's it. Like, that's all I feel, because I even feel like the characters in the background, if you compare the two, if you look at them, and if you actually have the image in front of you, like what I have, you'll notice that the above image just is more blurry in general, which means it's just a lower resolution image to begin with, or like a, you know, screenshots is just lower resolution to begin with, whereas the below one, the gameplay there is far more clean. And you'll notice also this one, yeah, this one's just more blurry, that's about it. It's the same kind of textures where this one is like a little bit darker. So I guess that's the only difference. It's just a tone, right? It's just a tone tone that's been changed. And this was something I actually mentioned back before we even got, like, the information about the national decks and all that shit, right? I remember I mentioned this during one of my videos back in, like, March. I pointed out that you can notice in the ground, like, or sorry, on, like, the whole world of, like, Sword and Shield Galar, everything's kind of got this pink filter on it. And then I saw a fan who actually removed the pink filter and made it more natural, and I was like, this looks a million times better. Why did they have this filter on? It just looks like shittier with that. But yeah, you can see, maybe, I guess you could say there's a bit of an improvement on the textures here. It's undeniable. There's, you know, but I feel like it's more about to do with just the general image itself. Being like the below one is just, there's more contrast. That's the word. Thank you. Contrast. The below one has more contrast, whereas the above one just doesn't have that contrast there, which, I don't know, man, but it does look better, though. I will not deny it, so I appreciate this being done. Now, this one's the biggest improvement, in my opinion, right? But also the biggest F-up, in my opinion, because look at the above image, right? The above image is the old one, the below image is the new one, right? So if we look at the below image, you'll notice that the ground texture is way better. I'm gonna be honest, the ground texture has been really, really improved. It looks way better. Do I still feel like there should be more grass sticking up on the actual field, and not just be a flat field? Because let's be fair, there would be some grass always sticking up, you know, and that sort of stuff. A little bit of mud here and there and that sort of stuff. Like, that's what I feel like should be there, like, in general in the battlefields. But this is clearly an improvement that's been done here, clearly. But then we look at the mountain, and they downgraded the mountain. Notice this, right? Look at the details in the mountain here, like how they're more like, you know, more like mixed colors, whereas this one's kind of blander. It's far, far, far more bland, you know, in general. And also, like, the background trees here, they're more, like, everything's just a bit more lighter on the new one. Everything's just a little bit more lighter, right? More natural color. Whereas if you look at this one, notice how it's got the pink filter on it, right? Everything's kind of pinkish in the back. Everything's kind of pinkish. Where here, they've removed the filter. And that's it, right? That's the only difference they've really done. They removed the filter and changed the ground texture. Hence why this looks so much more kind of like natural, which is that what it's meant to be. Whereas this one looks far more kind of this weird, unnatural color, which is what we had from the first trailers, because they kind of use this weird pink filter, if you guys remember that, which never really fit really well with the other stuff. I don't know, it's always a bit strange and off, but that was there. So, next thing. Here, I'm not sure if this is really an improvement. So this is the old image, right? And I think the lights look better here, because if you're in a stadium, this is usually, if it's like kind of like, you know, if you've been in a stadium, usually this is how I imagine the lights to be, like that. But now these look worse. I actually think these look way worse. I think the character, though, you know, here, look at the shadows and how good the shadows look like. But here, there's no shadow on his face. Or the difference really, again, isn't really to do with the actual, you know, game. But I think this was more to do with the time of day in the game. I think that's what we're looking at right here. I think it's the time of day. Even the shadows right here. Look at it, like, around his, you know, around his, you can see right there, there's, like, these shadows are, you know, more deep. Whereas these ones, less deep. Look at that, less deepness in them. Sure, there's more lights around here. Look at those lights. There, you know, there's more right down here. But these ones just they're shining in a weird way. Whereas I think these other ones have more of a natural light. I feel like these have way more of a natural light than the other ones have. Which again, strange they would change it like that. But I guess it is what it is. And here's the same thing again. You know, like it just like sure the lights here are way better. You know what I mean? Like the lights are way better here down here. But, like, then these are just shining a bit too bright, in my opinion. But overall, good improvement. Nothing too strange. But here is the thing that's gonna basically, I think, yeah, just piss me off, which we'll get to in a second. But first, we gotta run through these guys. So, we've already seen this battle scene. Here's the next one. So, this one is another one, which I think is actually a good improvement. So, if you look at the gym, right, like, down here is the above image here is the first version of the gym. You know, and how it looks like when you approach it, and you can see there's like kind of a path that's open. You can go down that path, and then you can see the entrance to the gym is kind of generic, nothing too crazy about it. Well, this one is kind of transparent instead. So the improvement isn't major, like it isn't like, you know, oh, here we go, like the game is saved. But it's a nice little change, which I never really had an issue with, like the entrance at all. But I do like the new one. I think it looks far more, you know, like just on board, you know what I mean? I'm way more on board for this one. I appreciate it. It's a small change, but also this is the sort of things where I mentioned previously that the gameplay we saw first time around, guys, like, listen, this gameplay here, this is gameplay that was made like ages ago, and that's why it's, you know, it looks so different from what we have here, and the reason they put the final game product here, because they were showing us really old gameplay footage, and, you know, over the course of this time that's been going, they of course have changed things and changed textures and made some improvements, which is kind of obvious. They're clearly going to do that. But again, it's like, I don't feel like a lot of people are complaining about, like, you know, this sort of stuff. I don't think this is where the issue really is, with this sort of stuff. I think the issue is in stuff like this. So look at this, right? Let me just make this full screen so you guys can see exactly what we're looking at. So here we have Pokemon Pokemon Sun and Moon, right? We've got, here on the side, we got How, right? There's How doing his little motion. And now look at Hop. Look at that animation. Look at that animation. Look at that. Look at that animation. Now this is what I have a problem with. See, the texture's being improved. I kind of saw that coming. That's what we've seen with, like, other Nintendo games in general happen. You know, they improve the graphics over time, like, with the textures and stuff. That's already, like, I'm acceptable of that. Like, I don't, like, you know, I see that coming, and I don't mind that. And I don't expect them to make big-ass changes, but I do expect them to just improve the graphics, you know, in general, and fix that sort of stuff. Hopefully, they also fix the bike clipping into the ground, and the floating rock areas and stuff like that. Like, the fences and stuff are, like, floating in the air. Need to go. I don't know. I'm sorry for all of a sudden just going into this rant, but there is the graphics comparison. I hope you guys did enjoy it, though. There is clear improvements. I'm not going to deny that they have done that, but I am still frustrated about stuff like this, where it's clear that they're just reusing, like, assets and then trying to, like, play it off as it's not a big deal. But either way, ladies and gentlemen, have this great day. Leave a like down below. Make sure to subscribe, and bye-bye.